Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Walt Disney once said, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. So, with those words, we are ready to be the supporting hand for your dreams as the CA Student Society. To introduce us, we are the official student body of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. And today, we are ready to make you all step into the professional world with some motivation and followed by a session of CV writing and on how to face an interview. We have arranged this platform, Career Fair and Workshop 2020, to make the school leavers move on with their future and to paint their dreams. I am beyond proud to announce that this is the fourth consecutive time we are presenting this to you and the very first time through online platform. So as we know, the online platform is full of technical failures, but we do our best to minimize all errors and to make the sessions much more interesting to you. But we also would like to apologize in advance for any sudden failures. And for now, we will be sharing with you a glimpse of our experiences last year. As I just mentioned, there can be technical failures which we don't expect. So as you just witnessed, in the previous years, it was an open platform for all school leavers. And we were able to be the mediator for assigning students for both audit firms as well as the mercantile sector. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, there are no vacancies open in the mercantile sector for this year. Therefore, this time we focus only on the audit firms and the students who are willing to be a trainee. But hopefully next year we will be able to get both sectors once again to you. So we know that after an exam, it like starts to feel empty, and sometimes it feels you are done with your goals. So for me, personally, I felt that when I was done with my A levels. So for the day, first of all, we thought of motivating you first and bring back that energy which you had when you were studying for A levels and any other exams. We need that energy with you to make you dream higher. So to bring that energy back, we have a very special guest speaker who is full of energy. He is Lean Six Sigma professional. He holds Bachelor of Science in Electronics and Computing from Wimber University. Also, Masters is a certified Sigma Black Belt and a certified transformative mindfulness coach, certified NLP practitioner, also international speaker and the charter president of One Country, One World Advanced Toastmasters Club. Last year, he was awarded as the most outstanding Toastmaster of the Year of District 82 Sri Lanka, which is the highest honor offered by the district, belongs to Toastmasters International. Currently works as a business consultant at Ernst & Young. So please welcome Mr. Thinusha Bamunuarachchi.
Thank you, Malshi.
Good morning, sir. It's wonderful to have you with us today to bring back the energy to our freshers.
Thank you, Malshi.
Sir, just a reminder for our viewers, just a reminder that if there are any questions regarding the session, please feel free to drop them in the chats in whichever social media you use. And if you are logged in using the Zoom, please use the Q&A option for the questions you have. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Malshi, and good morning, everyone. Thank you, CA Students Society, for inviting me here to deliver a motivational speech. So my session will be categorized to two segments. During the first segment, I'll be sharing a life story of a person, and during the second segment, I'll share some facts about being an outstanding person. So I hope you all like to listen stories. While you are listening to the story that I am talking about, let's move on to the story. Once upon a time, there was a boy, and one day he went to the school. There was an announcement. It was about selections for a debating team. So this boy went with his friends. When he entered the room, he saw a jam-packed room, which means it was very crowded. Let me share a photo of that room so that you can get an idea. So this was the room he entered. And they were looking at him very strangely. There were some topics in the table, and he had to pick one and speak on that. The topic he selected was Parrot Speaks. Now, being a stammering child, how could he talk like a parrot? He kept that chit and ran away from that room. And after that incident, he never spoke in public at school. Then he got selected to university. There he established a society and he was selected as the president of that society.
Sorry to disturb you, sir. I think your screen is not getting shared.
I just wanted to share that image only, Malshi.
Okay, sorry, sir.
Time to time, I'll be sharing. So he established a university society there in the university. But though he is the president, he never spoke in public. Why? You know the reason. After the university life, he went for many interviews. He had all the required educational qualifications, but due to lack of communication skills, he got rejected. One day, he saw a strange Facebook post shared by one of his friends. It was a very strange name about a club called Toastmasters. He phoned his friend and asked about Toastmasters. Then he decided to visit that Toastmasters club. When he went there were so many good speakers. They were speaking really well. So later he got the membership of that Toastmasters club, and he had to deliver his first speech, which we call icebreaker speech. So he had to deliver a speech for 4 to 6 minutes, which is about himself. He did it, but it was by looking at notes. You, you know, he had some speech difficulties. However, the audience response was great. So with the same confidence, he did his second and third speeches also. Those days, they were selecting the best speaker of the meeting. So this person decided to give a try. So one day he went home, he practiced a speech, he went to the club and delivered that speech. They selected a best speaker of the day, but it was not him. He tried again and again and again, so many times. He practiced so many times before he was delivering a speech. Sometimes it was 20 to 30 times he was practicing the same speech. And one day, he was awarded as the best speaker of that day. Then he delivered a series of similar speeches, and during that year, he was awarded as the best speaker of the year of that club. Later, he won different different type of speech contests at different levels. One day, there was an invitation. One day there was an invitation from his school, and it was to deliver a keynote speech. When he went to the school, he realized that he had to deliver that keynote speech at the same room where he refused to speak in public when he was a little boy. Later on, he delivered his first international speech during last April in front of 70 different delegates from 70 different countries. Later, he became a president of a global Toastmasters club. The transformation journey of that stammering boy to an international speaker was never easy. He has been rejected, he has been ridiculed, but he never gave up. Do you know who is that person? Can somebody guess? You can use the chat option. Adindra says it's me. Let me show you who is that. Hope you all can see my screen.
Gentlemen, the outstanding Toastmaster of the year 2019-2020 of District 82 is Thinusha Bamunuarachchi from Bamunuarachchi Toastmaster Club.
Yes, it was me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the outstanding, ladies and gentlemen.
And it was me who delivered that keynote at the same room where I refused to speak in public. So during this journey, I came up with 8 tips which helped me to become outstanding. And I believe these points will help you to become outstanding in whatever the field that you are passionate about. Let's go one by one. And you can take down notes if you would like to. So the first point is self-awareness, which means knowing about yourself. Knowing about yourself is very important. Most of the time we discuss about others. We know about others than ourselves. But do we really know about ourselves? If I ask a question from you, what's your vision in your life? Or what's your mission in your life? Or what's the purpose of your life as you believe? Do you have an answer? So remember, The first point is self-awareness. Self-awareness, which is probably the most important thing towards being an outstanding person. So you can think about things you like and things you did really well in the past, and you hope in the future. With all those, you can be aware about yourself more. And the second point is compete with yourself. We used to compare ourselves with others, especially parents. They used to compare their children. But we are so unique. We have our own strengths and own weaknesses. Being a Buddhist, I believe we are going a journey in this sansaric life. So we have our own strengths and our own weaknesses. As the first point, as I told you about self-awareness, when you're aware about yourself, you know your strengths and weaknesses. While you are focusing on your strengths, you can improve your weaknesses also. When I was joining Toastmasters, there were so many good speakers, but I never wanted to compare them with me because I had a different background. I always wanted to be a better person than I was yesterday. So I had that competition with me. Therefore, we all have different backgrounds and always try to be the best version of yourself. A winner compete with others. To be a champion, compete with winners. But to be outstanding, compete with yourself. Now let's go to the third point. Third point is hard work. There are no easy ways or shortcuts for hard work. There's a famous quote, work smart, not hard. But however, make sure you are committed to your dream. Once Thomas Alva Edison said, there's no substitute for hard work. So remember the third point, hard work. And fourth point, positive attitude. Be happy with what you receive. When I was starting my career life, I joined Ports Authority as a trainee. Can you guess my salary? I received only the lunch from Ports Authority. Similarly, when I started my leadership journey in Toastmasters, I started as a secretary, but I wanted to be a public relations manager, but what I was offered was being a secretary. But I took the challenge, and today I have selected as a president of a global Toastmasters club. So love what you have and go for what you want. So remember the fourth point, positive attitude. Fifth point, don't miss a single opportunity. My dear students, there are certain things which may occur in our life only at once. Nothing is worse than missing an opportunity that could have changed your life. Best example that I can share is that my school incident. If I didn't go to school to deliver that keynote speech, I may don't have a story to share with you today. So therefore, don't miss a single opportunity. Sixth point, don't limit yourself. When I was appointed as the club secretary, I never limited myself as a secretary. I always went beyond from my level. So that was the reason that I was able to conduct a mini conference with 70 countries from 70 different delegates and being elected as a president of a global Toastmasters club. Most of the time, we think it's not my work. That's not my work, that's someone else's work. But my suggestion for you today is, don't limit yourself and do what you can. So the sixth point, don't limit yourself. Point number 7, surround yourself with right people. Once Lord Buddha preached to Ananda Thero, path to Nibbana is completely light upon good friends. When I was starting my career, my first boss was Dr. Rohan Pallevat. He initiated a designation for me called Process Improvement Executive. And that was the turning point of my career life. Also, I had a life coach. He was Mr. Jayanta Fernando. One day I asked a silly question. I asked from him, "Sir, what if people didn't listen to my speech? Though I have a message to share with the world." He said, "Thinusha, it was not about how you say, it was about what you say." So those people changed my career life and my personal life. Even During my outstanding Toastmaster journey, there were so many people who helped me. Therefore, surround yourself with good people so they will coach you, they will mentor you, they will help you, and they will give opportunities to you. Now the last point, 8th point. Have a purpose. What is your purpose? I personally believe as human beings, our ultimate purpose should be to help others. Secret for success is helping other people to become success. So last year I helped as a speaker, I helped as a role player, I mentored so many Toastmasters, I trained so many Toastmasters, which was helped me to go for that award. Therefore, my dear students, if you can help someone, when you touch their hearts and when you make them change, you become a hero with a trophy or not. So have a purpose and make sure it is to help others. And now let me share some famous success stories of famous people. Let me share my screen. You all know who he is. Steve Jobs. He is the richest person in the world, but his first business was failed. And he was not a good student at school as well. But he overcome from his own barriers. You all know who he is. He failed his school entrance exam. Also, he worked as an insurance salesman and quit from that as well. He is Albert Einstein. And you all know Harry Potter. She is the author of that book, and she was a single mother living on welfare, trying to support her daughter. And she got rejected from 12 publishers to publish her first book. He is Charlie Chaplin, born to a poor family, and his parents were separated when he was a kid. His mother was suffering from psychological disorder, but he became a top-class comedian. Colonel Sanders owner of KFC. He succeeded when he was 65. 9 restaurants. Can you do? These are some of the famous people who overcome their own barriers. And you can see there's an empty square. I purposely kept that for you. My dear students, that is for you. We have different challenges, but we too can get there. And I'm asking from you, what stops you? What's your excuse to not to get there? So you can think on that. And my presentation will be ended with that. You can ask if there's any question in the chat feature. And back to you, Malshi.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful session. Because personally, I felt that we cannot foresee when our life turning point is. Because today, a stammering boy have turned into a district winner of Toastmasters Club. So with that story, we have few questions. The first one is how they how they became to those places, how they have come for those places. Even we tried to do our best, we couldn't become to a good level of economic side and other. I'm sorry, let me explain the question, sir. The student wants to know, even though he tried to their level best, they cannot succeed because of the economic issues, or maybe the family problems. So is there any tip that you have found from yourself to help with that student, sir?
Actually, as I told you, there's no substitute for hard work. So even when I was trying to deliver a speech, I was practicing so many times, and I wasn't able to be the best speaker just by one day, just by practicing one day. And for that, I had to practice again and again and again. So, as I believe, that was the reason which helped me to become success, because I never stopped. I never stopped by trying. Not only me, and as I showed you, all those famous people didn't get succeeded by overnight. They worked hard, and that's why they became succeeded.
Yes, sir. So hard working is the only thing you can do, and you have to dream more higher. There is one more question, sir. Life lets you down so many times. What motivates you to achieve? Is there any different answer?
Actually, I wanted to prove myself. I never thought about others, what people are talking about me, but but I always wanted to be the better version of myself than I was yesterday. I believe that was the reason for me to become success during this journey.
Yeah, so you have to believe in yourself and you should never give up again. There is one more question. He says, Sir, I'm good at lecturing and I have passion for it also. But I am working in accounting side in an organization even though I am seeking a profession in lecturing. It is difficult. What can I do, sir? Do I need to repeat the question,
Actually,
sir?
no, actually, following our passion is really important because that's where our energy lies. And if she can do some lecturing at the part time, maybe at the initial stage she can do, and later on she can develop that skill and become a full-time lecturer. I hope it will be helpful.
Yes, so that reminds me of one tip you say, don't miss a single opportunity in life.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
he can start with a small kid. Again,
yes.
we have a question, sir. I'm sorry, there are many questions we are getting from the social media platforms. Even if we work hard, it is hard to come to a level. What is the reason for that?
Uh, there can be different reasons. Actually, it can't be a single reason, but it's as I told, while we are working hard, we have to work smart as well. So sometimes we won't get what we expect, but once we take what we receive, and we can always uh, go for that what we want.
Yes, sir. So hard working also requires a smart working. So with that also
Yes,
the positive attitude, as you said, that was a
yes.
tip too. Positive attitude must be there. So there is one another question. How can we become a Toastmaster? I think that's a really interesting question because it is from your own field.
Yeah, you can become a Toastmaster. It's a very simple process. You can visit a Toastmasters clubs, and there are so many Toastmasters clubs in Sri Lanka. You can search in the Google also. And I'm a member of two clubs in Sri Lanka, AATSL Toastmasters and AATSL Emerging Toastmasters. And Sri Lanka has also a Toastmasters club. Uh, so there are so many Toastmasters clubs, and you can join.
Yes. And there is one more question, sir. Now, I think he's asking this question because you yourself you had stammering with you. So he wants to know like how to overcome that because there was a life story from your session. So is there any particular way other than these tips? Because you have to first give the first step. How did you motivate yourself to keep on that first step to face the society, to confront and speak to the public?
Actually, in that case, Toastmasters helped me a lot because in Toastmasters you will meet a friendly audience, and they are really helpful for you to grow. And though you make a mistake, they will applaud you. So they are really helpful, and you feel you are like at home. So you can make mistakes there, and nobody will laugh at you. So I suggest if someone has such a difficulty, you can visit a Toastmasters Club, and there's one thing that I didn't share. As I remember, it was in 2015. There was a world champion called Muhammad Al Khatani, and he was a stammering child. He was a stammering boy, but he became a world champion. So I think Toastmasters is one of best places that you can have a look.
Yes, sir. So, as we are speaking for the school leavers, many are asking about Toastmasters. So, why don't we give tips about joining on Gavel too? Because before moving on to Toastmasters, maybe the school leavers can join Gavel first. So, is there any thing that you have to say about that, sir?
Yeah, there are similarly so many Gavel clubs in Sri Lanka. Most of the universities have their own Gavel clubs, and even CA Sri Lanka has, I think, joined with the Gavel club also. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, as you are a member of many organizations, students keep on asking, like, do you have any tips or anything that you have to say as an advice for the students who are doing on chartered exams?
For the chartered exams, I don't have much idea because I am from process improvement background, and I work at EY in technology side, IT side. So better to refer someone from the finance background for that.
Yes, sir. Uh, so, if there are any more questions, the students can keep them on updating on the chat box as the time is permitting us for another few minutes. There is another question. How to overcome the stage fear?
Uh, to overcome the stage fear, you have to go to a stage and speak. It's like swimming. You can't swim without jumping into the water. So similarly, the best way to overcome stage fear is go there and speak. As I told you, Toastmasters is one of the best platforms that I can share. So you will have some good friends and good network, and also they are a very helpful, supportive audience.
Yes, so practice going to play the role there. So that's
Yes.
great, and that was indeed a very wonderful session, sir, because you shared your life story with us, and I hope all our participants too found some energy within them again. So now, thank you so much for joining with us today and making all of us full of energy with your life story. We wish you all the very best for the future endeavors as well as for the upcoming Christmas and New Year in advance, sir. Thank you so much for joining, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Some of you must be wondering what we at CAS do every year and why you should be a chartered accountant So to answer that, we have some small clips to show you.
ලංකාවේ චාර්ටඩ් ඇකවුන්ටන්ට් කෙනෙක් හිටියට ඉගෙන ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් මම හිතන්නේ ඒක තමයි ජීවිතේ ලබන්න පුළුවන් ලොකු ජයග්‍රහණය. මොකද ලංකාවේ චාර්ටඩ් ඇකවුන්ටන්ට් කෙනෙකුට ජාත්‍යන්තරේ පවා රස්සාවල් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඇයි මම අපේ ආයතන ඇතුළත මේ චාර්ටඩ් ඇකවුන්ටන්ට්ලා 100කට වඩා වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් ඇතුළේ තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ. මොකද ඉස්සර වගේ නෙවෙයි චාර්ටඩ් ඇකවුන්ටන්ට් කෙනෙක් පිටිපස්සේ ගණන් හදන එක නෙවෙයි දැන් කරන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි ඉස්සරහ වසර 10ක් කොහොමද මේ කම්පැනි එක අරන් යන්න පුළුවන් කියලා මේ ප්ලෑන් කරන්නේ, ස්ට්‍රැටජිස් හදන්නේ, මේ හැම දෙයක්ම කරන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ අපිට බෝඩ් මීටින් එකකට උනත් ගොඩාක් කන්ට්‍රිබියුෂන් එක කරන්නේ මේ චාර්ටඩ් ඇකවුන්ටන්ට්ලා. ඉතින් මම හිතනවා ඕගොල්ලන්ටත් චාර්ටඩ් ඇකවුන්ටන්ට් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් ජීවිතේ ලබන්න පුළුවන් ලොකු ජයග්‍රහණයක්.
So that was in short what we at CAS do and why you should be a chartered accountant. So moving on, have you ever wondered what gives you the edge over the others to get a new job? That would be definitely on your CV writing and on how you face on your interview. To guide you on that, we have another great personality with us today, and she is the profile is pretty much long. She has served at she's serving at John Keel's Holdings PLC as Vice President Finance for Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts. Also a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, a fellow member of the Association of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka, and a member of CPA Australia. She also holds an MBA from University of Colombo, where she topped the batch on overall performance and won an award for her thesis on high-performance work systems. She did her bachelor's in business administration at the University of Colombo, specializing in business economics. Ranked Island first at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka in the final stage examinations. Recipient of the J&M Klossman Women in Business Award, currently the chairperson of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce Young Leaders Forum, as well a past president of Young Chartered Accountants Forum and General Secretary of Chartered Accountants Student Society. That is none other than Mrs. Vindya Cooray. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Malshi, and thank you very much for that generous introduction. And I was just going through the video that you all showed, and that brought me my memories at the times that I was with the Chartered Accountants Student Society.
Yes,
so thank you
just
once again.
Small reminder, ma'am.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have you with us here. And just a reminder for our viewers, please drop any question you have regarding the session in the chat box in whichever social media platform you use. And please use the Q&A option in Zoom. Thank you, ma'am. It's over to you.
Thank you, Malshi. So good morning, everyone. Let me share the presentation. So as Malshi said, basically the session is on winning over prospective employer, right? Now, if you're looking at, if you're looking into, okay, so in terms of the expectation of today's session, if you're expecting that I would basically share CV writing tips to how to dress for an interview, yes, I will cover that as much as possible. And having said that, I also would like to share some of my experience when I sit on the other side of the table as an interviewer. What are the common mistakes which the interviewees do? And also I will try to relate as much as possible on my experience as to how I behaved or I acted and what I had to encounter when I was looking for jobs, right? So as I said, I was also a chartered student, right? I was also studying at an audit firm. I was undergoing my training at an audit firm. So at that time, I was also looking for jobs. So, you know, I'll try to relate that as much as possible so that you will find relevance in what we are discussing today. So I hope that sounds good with you. Malshi, just to check with you, when I share my screen, do you also see the Zoom chat box or do you see the slides clearly?
Sorry, ma'am, I'm not clear with that.
Do you see the slides?
Yeah, it's visible now.
It's visible, right?
Yeah.
And do you also see the Zoom chat box on the side, or is it only the slides?
It is only the slide for me because I'm from the phone. Let me check with someone from the lab if you need, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Okay, so as Malshi said, my name is Vindya Cooray. If I give a bit of background, so I was also a chartered student society member, and when I had my training at SCB Corporate, Chartered Accountants, I was also a product of University of Colombo. So soon after my chartered examinations were over, when I was getting the membership, I was at the audit firm applying for jobs, right? I wanted to go to the corporate sector. So I will basically from there onwards, I will relate to, okay, how do you prepare for an interview, right? What are the mistakes you should avoid on a CV? Likewise, I will continue. Yeah. We have one question. Do you recommend an audit practice or a non-audit practice during the first year of CA? Okay, so let me come to those questions later. Yeah, that this is a common question which people ask. So I will make sure such type of questions maybe like during the last 15 minutes or so. I will take those
Yes,
one.
ma'am. We will take the last minutes after your session for the questions. We have separate time for that.
All
Please
right.
continue with your presentation, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. Right. So I will first start with CV writing, right? Now a CV, or we call it a curriculum vitae, CV stands for that, is basically the first opportunity that you get to showcase you, right? So if you look at a recruitment process from an organization's perspective also, they will put an advertisement out, right? It can be a situation where you're applying for a particular job, or it can be that you're just preparing your CV and sharing it with someone saying, you know, I'm looking for jobs, and if you have colleagues, share with them so that if there is a vacancy, they will call me, right? So both ways that can happen. Now, the first principle which I would like to highlight is tell the truth, right? Don't ever tarnish your integrity. I'm highlighting this because at a CV or at an interview, people might tell lies, or they might cover up. Now, say for an example, you might have career breaks in between. You might not have right now, but say after you work for a few years, for some reason you might have like a 2 years break and then start again. So when you have something like that at a CV, here's a question can be asked, okay, why did you have that career break? Right? So to avoid situations like that, sometimes people tend to lie at CVs, right? When you're preparing the CV, what you will do is you will get another person's CV, and then sometimes you will cut and paste, chop that, and then try to suit it to your profile. Okay. Now, why I'm highlighting this about telling the truth at a CV is, if you tell lies at a CV, your employer is also smart. They can probe you more. They can ask further questions to verify as to whether what you have told in the CV is right. Right. So if you get stuck there, then that can create an alarm saying, okay, what you have said in the CV is not the truth. Then also certificates, right? Now sometimes I know for a fact people might even, there are instances where people have forged certificates. Now even those, the employer can basically have a direct reference to the university or to the institute and ask, okay, did a person like this basically qualify during this year? So likewise they can get direct reference. And also your references whom you're putting, the employer can speak to them and get to know what sort of a person you are. So it's very essential that you tell the truth, because unfortunately in my career at finance, there have been cases where even students who are still, you know, sitting for chartered examinations have applied for jobs, I've recruited for jobs, but there had been questions of integrity thereafter, right? So remember, if there's a question with regard to your integrity, there's no second thoughts, right? Because it tells you that your values are compromised, right? So that is something which we really see when we recruiting people, right? Are those people's values in line with the corporate value, right? I'll just show this picture, right? Warren Buffett says, when looking for people to hire, he looks for 3 qualities, and number 1 is what? Integrity. So that is why I'm saying at a CV, when you're preparing the CV, when you're facing an interview, always tell the truth, right? So there are 3 things: integrity, intelligence, and energy. Again, not knowledge, not your paper qualifications, but also intelligence, right? Now, when you say intelligence, intelligence is where you will learn through your experiences, right? Now, as a student, now say for an example, at Chartered Student Society, you get a very good opportunity, right? You get a good opportunity to work as a team. You get opportunity to mingle or to get to know the members, right? You get that rare opportunity to attend member conferences and things like that, right? Then you know, okay, this is our chartered accountant behave, this is our chartered accountant walk to talk to, all that. These are the values a chartered accountant holds, right? Now those opportunities not all the students might have, right? So you need to make that effort to learn those. Now those learnings are not taught in classroom, it's not done in your chartered course, right? More than that, it's self learning, right? Now say for an example, you're organizing a cricket tournament, yeah, then sometimes things might go wrong, so you learn from that. Okay, why did it go wrong? What should I have done better? So you don't have to wait for an organization to go get a job and learn things, no. So that is where intelligence starts coming in, right? You learn through your experiences. And energy, now that is something which we look at interviews, how energetic you are, right? Now if I talk saying, okay, so I'm looking at 3 qualities: integrity, intelligence, and energy. You will not, you will wonder what's wrong with me, right? So I need to have that energy. I need to be passionate about what I'm telling you right now. So then my energy is displayed, right? And what does he say? If you don't have the first one, which is integrity, intelligence and energy will kill you, because you will use it for the wrong reasons, right? So telling the truth is a must. That is a fundamental in your CV. And as I said, sometimes you tend to take the CV of your friend and copy paste and do it. Please do it very, very carefully, 100% careful. I still remember when we were calling for new recruits or for new trainees at the audit firm. So I was involved in the recruitment process also. I remember there was one CV where I think now in CVs you put your picture, right? So I think a friend's CV has taken and someone has pasted a picture on top of that, and had not been done properly. Like you have not removed the previous person's picture. So when I open the PDF, I'm getting at a second, one picture comes in and goes off, right? Of the previous person. Yes. So be very careful. Don't do silly mistakes like that. And then we say keep it concise, right? It has to be maximum 2 pages long, right? Don't put too much of details. Okay, so I will come to what you should put in a CV, right? So keep it short, brief, and simple, so that the essential information is given in a bullet form, in a very precise way, right? Make sure your CV does not have too much of clutter in it, right? You need to have enough spacing, you need to have enough white space, right? So keep it to the point, and we'll see how we can go on that. Then formatting is very, very important, right? So again, if you look at formatting, so I've put some formatting tips, right? So we'll come to that as well. Here you need to make sure the consistency throughout the CV. That is why format is important, right? And then proof your CV for accuracy. Make sure that there are no spelling mistakes. Sometimes it's very sad to look at CVs. People have handwritten, people have typexed, right? There are a lot of spelling mistakes on CVs. I'm sorry to say we don't even call you for an interview then. Now, especially you guys are trying to be accountants, guys are trying to be at financial discipline, right? So attention to detail is very important. Yes. So every capital, just like, you know, you look at your numbers and you pay a lot of attention to detail, right? That is expected from an accountant. So when we look at your CV, we don't feel that you have attention to detail. You haven't noticed the spelling mistakes, nothing. So share it with a friend. Maybe share it with a friend who is good in English, right? First of all, through Word, do a spell check. Yeah, do a spell check, make sure the spelling mistakes are not there, and then give it to a friend and ask that friend to proofread it for you for accuracy. That is also very important. Yeah. So what to include in the CV? Firstly, you need to start with your contact information, right? So you can have your name, right? Just the name and surname would do, right? The mobile number. Please make sure that you're contactable on this mobile number. If you're not too sure, include 2 numbers even. That is all right. You can have your mobile number and your home number. So that just in case if someone steals your phone or your phone is broken or something happens, there is another backup, right? So the number is very, very important. Okay. If you're giving someone else's number, please keep that person informed. Yeah, and make sure that you're in close contact with that person. Yes, because sometimes what we do is we call and, you know, contact people. Then how the respondents behave also makes a first impression. Now say you send the CV, so looking at the CV, I pick the phone number and I call and say, hello, am I speaking to so and so? Then you the way you answer, right? You know, this day and age, it's important that you, if someone calls you in English, you need to answer in English, right? That is a crucial skill, a language skill, which you need to have for your career ladder. So brush up on those. I mean, invest on those, right? Find a good course and attend. I know some people. I know some of my friends went to University of Colombo. They have English courses. Go. I mean, it doesn't cost a lot. It's an investment, right? So how you answer the phone also has an impact, right? Because then the first impression would be CV, second impression would be how you answer the mobile or the conversation that you're having, right? And then have an email address. So please make sure that when you're applying, you be in touch, you check these things so that you don't lose any opportunities, right? And then employment history. Now, some of you might have been employed before. Like, you can talk about your training, right? So when I apply for my first job, then, you know, training organization, what I did would be the first thing. So this has to be in chronological order. Now, when we say chronological order, from the very recent to the previous ones, right? So if you're currently employed and looking for a job, you can say, okay, 2017 to date, right? The organization and the position that you were holding. Yes. And then you go to the one before that, right? 2014 to 2017, ABC company. This is the position. And you can also include the responsibilities which you performed under that role, right? So I'll share my CV and I'll just quickly take you all through so that you know, understand what I'm saying. Then you move on to professional qualifications, you move on to memberships, right? So you can say ACA. It's important that you mention which year you got qualified, right? I learned through one of my experiences where I think I applied for a job and then I got a call and it was then they asked, when did you qualify, because you had not mentioned that, right? Then you talk about your education. So at your first I mean, if it's your first opportunity or so, you tend to write like your A level results were these, so include those. I mean, as you move further up on the career ladder, you will not mention those, but you can mention those, right? especially for beginners, mention A level, these are the subjects which I did this year, qualified, these are the results, right? And then also you can mention about extracurricular activities, right? I was a general secretary of CS Student Society from this year to this year, right? I did these sports, right? So because your extracurricular activities will show what sort of competencies you have to some extent, right? Have you been a team player? So even those can lay foundation for the interview. And then the other thing is references. Now, when you say references, this is where you will basically, your employer will call these two. Usually you put two references, call these two people and ask about you, right? That is one way. Now, there are some organizations, now I have seen when people put me as references, there are some organizations, they actually have a standard format which the referee has to fill. Right now, some organizations become even more specific and say you need to have a reference from your previous workplace and another reference. Now, these references have, we say, non-related parties, can't be your aunties and uncles, right? So usually what you include is you include like, a school teacher or a principal or someone at the Chartered Institute. So as a beginner, you will do that. Then if you have informed your audit firm that you're looking for jobs, yes, your audit immediate supervisor, partner, you can include them, right? Now, there are some cases where you might be looking for jobs, but you haven't told your current employer. In that case, you can put even the previous employer, right? Now, there are some other instances where you will say, okay, references can be provided on request. So I put that in my CV. Now, since you are beginning in your career ladder, what I would say is it's always good to have two references, right? Because then that additional effort for the organization to get back to you, ask references, and then send, that burden is not there. And I don't think, like in your cases, that there might be a situation where you need to hide from anyone. That you're looking for jobs, because sometimes people might think if my current employer knows I'm looking for jobs, that might act as a negative, right? Then the other thing is, another important thing is, if you're putting someone as a reference, please mention that person that you have applied for this job and share your CV with them. Now, sometimes, like, whether it's students or whether my previous subordinates or anyone, now, since I used to lecture, also sometimes students are like, can I include you as a reference? I always say that is fine, but please share your CV with me, right? So then if the employer contacts, I have a reference. Okay, I have a reference to give you a reference. Now, apart from this, you can also have add-ons in your CV, like say for an example, so these are the must-haves, the critical things. You can have, special awards if you have received achievements. You can bring a part called achievements and say, now, say for an example, I would say first in order of merit of CS Sri Lanka, I will put it under achievements. That's another section, right? James M. Klausman Women in Business Award, I will put it under achievements. Then also you can bring skills. Like say for an example, if you're very good in Excel, if you're very good in analytical skills. Now, those also can be brought in as skills. Now, when you say you're good in Excel, you have to be good in Excel, right? It's not just, the basics, but you can include skills like that. Yeah. Then other than that, now, especially sometimes you tend to have personal information, like say whether you're married or not, your religion, your race. Now, those I don't think are, crucial must-haves. I mean, so if that is an equal opportunity employer, whether you're Sinhalese or whether you're Buddhist or Catholic or Burg or Muslim, or that doesn't really matter for your job, right? Now, especially from the girls, I always hear this. I also had to face cases where I purposely didn't mention I was married when I was finishing my training and was applying for jobs. I was married, so I never mentioned saying I'm married. So sometimes at interviews they're like, so you're 25 or 27 or whatever. So are you planning to get married? So those are, I mean, irrelevant questions from their side of it. And and then they've been like, you haven't mentioned that in the CV. So our stance is, now if I recruited someone, I don't ever ask whether you're married or not, right? But say there is a job which is involving traveling and all that, so I will explain, okay, this job involves a fair bit of traveling, are you okay with it, right? Because you can't generalize, no. So at the interview, I think as employers we have that duty not to discriminate anyone. So that is why I'm saying those things are not irrelevant. I mean, those are not must haves, but if you do include, I mean, that's fine, it's up to you, but those are not must haves. But what I'm touching here are the must haves. Then about the photographs, sometimes people have that question, should I put a photo? Now personally, I've never put a photo, right? Because again, I feel it's irrelevant. But if you're putting a photo, please make sure illang kanna onne hai, right? Likewise, don't ask for trouble. Please make sure, boys hair cut nicely, properly shaved, right? A pleasing photograph of you, right? Two things can happen. Or either you put the photograph, people are like, let's call this person for an interview, or they'll be like, oh god, look at this person has not, like, had a proper haircut, looks so disorganized, right? And let's not call for an interview. I don't want a person of this nature in my team. Now you don't want that to happen, right? So that is why I'm saying a photograph again is not an essential. But I know most of the people do have photographs, do include photographs. If you're including one, make sure that you're properly groomed and you take a proper photograph and include. Then another thing, I'm now anticipating questions and I'm presenting. Cover letters is also another thing, right? Sometimes with the CV, you'll accompany a cover letter. So cover letter would be then the first point of creating that impression, where the cover letter should not include things in your CV, right? But if there are any, so cover letter, basically you need to say what will make you the best person for that role. So if you want to take that extra step, you can include the cover letter also, right? Again, some organizations ask this, some organizations don't, or you might just prepare the CV and float it around to anyone to ask to consider you for a position. So it's up to you, but these are the must-haves, right? In terms of formatting, so as I said, make the CV at least 2 pages long. You need to do a thorough spell check, right? You need to properly organize the sections, right? Say for an example, you have education qualifications, right? So you put here education qualifications, and under bullet points, you put the qualifications. Then you have, say, extracurricular activities. Now the headings all should be the same font size, same font, right? So your font sizes, pick standard fonts and font sizes. Usually we use Times New Roman, Arial, Calibri, right? This is not supposed to be like a flashy CV, but what is important is you have a very professional CV, right? So font size can be 10 to 12, right? And your name and the section headings can be a bit larger or bolder. Now, say for an example, section headings are bold, then make sure all the section headings are bold. Or if you're going for a large font size, make sure all the sections have large font size. So likewise, you need to keep each section uniform, right? Let me share my CV with you. Give me a second. So my CV, so I put my name, the address, mobile numbers, and the email address. Now, sometimes you do, you can, now people use the LinkedIn profile, right? So you can include your LinkedIn profile as well, but make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date, right? Then the mission statement, right? Again, if you like, you can have, otherwise, I mean, as long as you don't copy paste and, you know, don't put the same thing over and over again. Then now, if you see, this is a professional experience, and since now, I think though I started working after my training only in 2013, I had quick moves. Right now, if you look at my CV, it's not current. Right now, my CV has not been updated basically. So when you have, so I've had about 6-7 moves quickly. Because of that, I've put a summary, right? Summary of my experience full time, and then I've put like part time, and then I have gone to key accountabilities under each section. Now, if you look at it, see, I've used the same font. Yeah. Now, even here, it's the same type. Then I've gone into, like, you know, professional qualifications, educational qualifications. See, again, the same formatting. Yeah. Here, actually, I should put the year that I got the memberships, right? Then if you again looked at educational qualifications, I put it in chronological order. Can you see the italics? Those are all common. Now, so basically the institute I have put in italics, right? Same way. Then I put key achievements, again the institute in italics, right? These are all the volunteering. If you have volunteering honorary positions, you can include those. Right, so I've said General Secretary of CS Sri Lanka. And then at last I put personal details, whether I'm married or not, school attendant, nationality, and LinkedIn. Right. Okay. I'll go back to the presentation. Right. So if there are any questions on the CVs, I'll just quickly take through. How can we find a better CV template? There are CV templates online as well, right? Yeah, so I guess it's freely available, the CV templates. Is it wrong if we include personal qualification after the educational qualification after the personal information? No. Right? If you are making a CV or resume, is birthday essential? Birthday, now again, you say if it's an equal opportunity employee, age won't be this thing, but I would say let's be practical and include the birthday, because then they know which age you are. Because for some positions, maybe, like, you know, if you're like in your 50s or 40s or whatever, so the organization also might have an idea, right, what sort of a age category person I'm looking at. I guess because of that, I mean, if you feel there's no harm, go ahead and include your birthday. So this was on the birthday. Interviews, I'll get back. Coursera, edX certificates in our CV. So you need to bring a section under like trainings, right? Or sometimes you have these educational certificates. So if it's, again, if that Coursera training is something which is relevant to the job, if the trainings are relevant to the job, I would say, I mean, include it. Now, for an example, we have leadership trainings. Now, I would like to include that because that is a significant, I mean, training that you go for. So if it is relevant, again, that's okay. Yeah. Best place to put achievements in CV at the beginning or the end. So now if you look at my CV, I've given prominence to my employment history, right? And then moved on to achievements with towards like the not right at the end, but somewhere in between. I would say have that work experience, professional qualifications, educational qualifications, achievements, that order. Yeah. Again, the most important thing is your CV. Your CV should not be something which is very lengthy, right? Because then only people might not look at what is there on the other parts of it, right? So try to make it very concise. Then if it's like a 2-page, then yeah, achievements and all, definitely a person would read. Again, part-time jobs on the CV is if it is relevant. I don't know, that's how I feel. Now say for an example, if I'm applying for lecturing, I would put under part-time all my lecturing experiences, right? So as I said again, it depends on the job that you're looking at, right? Now say for an example, you're applying for a job which needs you to be full-time on that job, and then if you're also looking at a part-time job currently, if you're doing, you might even have to give up that job, right? So again, see the relevancy, I would say. Index numbers of examination, I think if including the only purpose is, then the institute can directly verify, but otherwise index numbers of examination are not needed. If you're a fresher and you don't have professional qualifications, that's fine. If you're currently sitting for exams, you can say following CA whatever level, right? So you don't have professional qualifications. I mean, you haven't got the membership as such, but you can say currently sitting for this. And now if you're doing like your bachelor's or MBAs or whatever, you can say reading for BBA. Right? So then the employer knows, okay, this person is studying at the moment. Yeah. Will it lessen the chance to get the job if we put our school, which is not a top school? Please don't think like that. I know sometimes there is discrimination with regard to us, with regard to schools. Now, I went to St. Lawrence's, right? Again, for me, my school is like the best school, but for employers, like say, it's not one of the top tier Colombo girls schools, right? So please don't think like that. Mention the school. I mean, again, as I said, there's nothing to hide. No. Now, when I remember when we get CVs for especially audit firms, we see people from different, some areas are rural areas, right? All those schools are there. So, I mean, your school is not a criteria for me to recruit you or not. I do understand, practically speaking, there can be some discrimination with regard to the schools. But I mean, it's nothing for you to hide, because at the interview, definitely they will ask, right? Where did you school, right? So you don't want to lie there. So go ahead and put the school. That's all right. If as long as you're proud of your school, that's okay. Color format of the CV, yes, but I would say stick to blue, gray, likewise professional standard colors. LinkedIn profile, I would see as a plus point, right? But you have to make sure that you maintain the profile properly, right? You have to put a proper picture. Not only LinkedIn profiles, if you're in the process of looking for jobs, even your Facebook profile, I mean, please put that also, like, in a way that you want to portray yourself, I would say. because there can be instances where even a Facebook profile can be checked, right, to see what sort of a person you are. So LinkedIn profile is a plus point, but make sure that you maintain your LinkedIn profile properly. Okay. I'm an undergraduate in one of the government universities. Okay. What are the key areas I must include my CV? I haven't any work experience. Okay, so undergrads in one of the government universities like me. So its key areas are again the ones that I mentioned. If you don't have any work experience, that's fine, because your first job, you'll definitely not have work experience. No? So if you look at my CV, I didn't have work experience either, right? So there you will always have the educational qualifications. And you can say you're currently reading for bachelor's in business administration in Sri Javadanapura University. Expected completion is this year. You can mention that. Or you can say currently sitting for CA examinations at this level. So you can mention like that. Skills and profile on the CV. Okay. Sports certificates more important to get a job. Now, say for an example, not everyone would be sport, right? So if you have done sports, include that. But sports is not the only thing where you can show teamwork and stuff. No, if you look at me, I didn't do sports, right? But I was doing loads of other extracurricular activities, right? So school captain to CA student society, then you'll say this club, that club, commerce society, English club. So as a beginner, you can include those for extracurricular activities, right? So you can't say sports is more important to get a job, but I would say sports will display that you're a team work and all that. And more than everything, it's what you learn from that experience, right? So you as a sports person, what you have learned, like, when times are bad, being resilient, right? Not giving up. So all those can be displayed. But I can't say it's more important and someone who hasn't done sports does not get a job, because if in that case, I also wouldn't have got the job. Hobbies and interest, yes, it is relevant based on the job that you're applying. Now, say for an example, my previous workplace was inbound travel. So when we recruit travel consultants, some of them would say, okay, my hobby is traveling, right? My hobby is, creative writing or whatever. So hobbies and interest also, if it's relevant, you can include. Maintaining the LinkedIn profile means you're making sure it's up to date, right? Again, you would name things in chronological order. So there are a lot of tips. Just go through Google. Okay, so I will move on to the next session, right? Give me a minute. Right. So let's move on to facing an interview, right? So now you have floated your CV. You have got a call, right? Saying, okay, we would like to call you for an interview. Yeah. On such and such a date. Now, if you get a call and if you don't hear properly, please ask that person, sorry, I can't hear you. Can I know from where you're calling? What is the interview time? Likewise, because I have seen cases even at the audit firm. Sometimes people come there and ask, what is the name of this place? Right? It shows absolute lack of preparation. I've seen cases where people come and ask, okay, what is this position? Now that does not look good for you. Now, when you've got a call, that's what I'm saying. If you've got a call, if you can't hear, if there's some disturbance, call back even and verify the details. Most of the times this happens when you don't apply for a specific position, but you send your friend to send your CV to your auntie and uncle and everyone. So then they will send your CV to someone else, and then that person calls you and you don't know which organization you were, right? So when you're facing the interview, first of all, research the company a bit. What is this company? What is this company doing? Right? So do that background search a bit. Now, when I remember when I was applying for jobs, certain companies, you know, the industry was new. So I researched a bit about the industry. So when they ask a question, I know the answers, right? So research the company, research about a bit about the industry a bit, you know. I mean, you are going for an interview, right? So get prepared. Then some common questions they'll ask is, okay, what do you think is your biggest strength? Then you can say, you know, my biggest strength is attention to detail, or my biggest strength is that I'm my analytical skills, or my biggest strength is I'm very good at Excel. So any given task, I can come up with Excel models and prepare it within, you know, complete the task within a very short time. So it, you know, it increases my efficiency. So likewise, what are your biggest strengths is not necessarily the skills, right? When you say, you know, what are the strengths you have? Now you guys have to do a SWOT analysis of yourself. What is the biggest strength, right? Is it working under pressure? Your biggest strength. Now there are some people who really falls face falls flat on the face, right? When there's a lot of pressure, where there are some people who are, you know, they don't give up when there's pressure. So is that the biggest strength in you? So you need to know what your biggest strengths are. Is it very good communication skills, your biggest strength? So you need to do that SWOT analysis and go for the interview prepared. Now, if the question is asked and you're like, oh, so what is my biggest strength? What is my biggest strength? You're thinking at that time doesn't look good. Why? Interview or not, first you should know about yourself, right? So today, take some time, forget about CV writing, interview, all that. Take some time, right? Relax, do a SWOT analysis for yourself. What are the strengths? What can I capitalize on? What are my weaknesses? What should I do to improve my weaknesses? Right? What are the opportunities? What are the threats? Even if you don't have, even if you don't take anything from this session that I'm doing, take that. Right? Then you're developing yourself. It's personal development. So likewise, you have to know those and go for the interview. Now, when you say what are the biggest weaknesses, sometimes people say I work too much. Now, don't go common answers. Like if you Google, you get common answers like this. But not everyone's weakness is the same, right? So sometimes when I go for panel interviews, if there are very smart guys on career weeks and all, they ask, what is the biggest black spot that you have? Right? So I say sometimes I'm too direct with the people, right? So in terms of emotional intelligence or whatever, sometimes people say I need to improve on being more organized, right? So anyway, your weakness is up to you, but it's important that you say, what do I do to make sure that I'm overcoming those weaknesses? Right? Now, when you go for an interview, you can't be way too personal and get sympathy and all that. No, that is not the point of going for an interview. So you can say, okay, the weakness that I have is I think I need to improve on time management more, right? So to overcome those, I'm taking these steps for time management, right? So you're giving confidence to the employer, sorry. If you say, no, I don't think I have any weaknesses, you're first stand lying, right? Why do you want to work at this company? So you have to be prepared for questions like this. So sometimes people say, you know, I'm taking this opportunity as a stepping stone to John Keel's group. right? Because this is a reputed company, this is a large conglomerate, we can move across in organizations. Now, these are some of the questions, some of the answers that I've seen people giving, right? So be prepared for those questions. Now, the other thing is, it's an opportunity for you to ask questions, right? Why? Because remember, interview is a two-way thing. While it gives an opportunity for the employer to get to know you, it's also an opportunity for you to get to know the employer. So usually at the end of an interview, we always ask, do you have any questions? And people are like, no, I don't think I have any questions. Tata, bye. No, be prepared at least to ask one or two questions. You can ask, okay, what are the career development opportunities I would have? Right? So then we can say, okay, we have a performance management system like this, the cross exposure to other business units, right? So, make it an opportunity to ask questions like that. Yeah. You can practice with a friend, or you can go in front of a mirror and practice. Yes. Prepare to explain why you think you're a good fit for the company, good fit for the organization. So you can say, this job requires working with people. And throughout my experience, there are instances where I have worked with people and given very good results. You can say, for an example, I was in the student society, I was the sports coordinator, right? And these are the things which we did. So I will come to that as well. I'll show you a video clip. Because of that, because I have these skills, I think I'm a best fit for this position. Yeah. And prepare to bring everything you need. I mean, your resume, your certificates, have all those ready. Yeah. Now the day has arrived, the day. Okay. So when the day has arrived, what do? You get up early, you tell your prayers, right? Be relaxed. Okay. You have to dress professionally. So all the guys who are now, in lockdown, haven't had proper, haven't done a proper shave and all, haven't had a proper haircut, please make sure that you have a proper haircut, right? We'll look at personal grooming also. See, you get only few seconds for that first impression, right? So your first impression has to be good. I mean, we are all humans, no? So as an interviewer, I'm human, right? When you interview, you're human, right? Because that first impression does have some weightage on that decision, right? Please target to arrive early. Don't rush. Because I know now, I was also a student like so I was also taking public transport, right? Please, when you go for interviews, arrive early. I'll tell you a classic experience I had was, so when I was at the audit firm, I sent my CV. I was looking at internal audits. I sent my CV to one of the lecturers, right? So that was a Friday at the audit firm, dressed down. My lecturer called me and asked, my boss wants to talk to you. Can you come to our office for a small chat? Right? I quickly spoke to a friend of mine. Luckily, she had a credit card. We quickly ran to a shop, got clothes, dressed and went. My boss knew that I was looking for jobs, dressed and went. Right? Because I didn't want to miss that opportunity. That's why I said I'll come. And I mean, boss was okay. He knew I was looking out. Second thing is, I need to dress professionally. I can't go like this. Right? So quickly borrowed, audit firms not having so much of money like in the wallet all the time to go and buy clothes. So quickly got a blouse and a skirt, dressed up and went. Right? So if you don't arrive early, what's the issue? I mean, you're panicky, sweating, after going in the bus and all, hair like this, right? You're breathing fast, you can't find the place, you look so panicky, right? So if you arrive early, you have time to take a deep breath, calm down, right? If you want to go to the washroom, go groom yourself, refresh up a bit, right? Because you have to be presentable, and personal hygiene matters, right? So you can't be all sweaty and nervous and, all that. When introducing yourself, introduce with confidence. So the handshake is very important, right? You have to shake hands with confidence, right? So that is why I'm saying, if you're nervous and you're in a rush, your hand is sweaty, very cold, right? So how to do a proper handshake, just Google a bit. Introduce yourself with confidence. I mean, don't walk with shoulders like this. Keep your shoulders straight, head straight. Walk to the room with confidence. Shake your hands and say, "Nice meeting you, sir," or whatever. When questions are asked, articulate. I mean, explain clearly. Don't cut it short. Yes, no. Don't say like that. I'll tell you another classic example. I got an email from one of my bosses saying there's a double or triple qualified girl, right, who was studying at overseas, who has now come to Sri Lanka and looking for a job, right? A very young girl in 20s, but she had about 3 qualifications in finance, and I had a vacancy, so wanted to see whether this girl will make a match. And so this girl walks in the morning. That's like the worst interview I've ever done. It was like speaking to a blank wall, like speaking to a ghost. It was all yes, no, like, very drained, lethargic, no expression whatsoever. I mean, it's difficult for me to conduct an interview there, right? Remember, Warren Buffett says energy, passion. So that is what you need to demonstrate at the interview. Don't share overly personal information, like, all your sympathetic ground ones, that you don't want those. Thank the interviewers in person. I mean, thank them, right? Know what not to do, right? What you shouldn't do, that is also important. Don't badmouth your current job. Now, if people ask, why are you leaving, you can say, that is because I'm looking for okay, my current role, I have been performing about 2 years, right? I'm looking at a different exposure, but this industry suits me better or whatever. But don't go and don't badmouth saying, oh, they're like this, they're not paying, they're not giving me opportunities. Don't badmouth. And then the last point is follow up. I mean, if you know the email address, thank them, put an email saying, thank you for the opportunity given to meet you. Thanks for committing your time, and we will get in touch with you. So they will say that they'll get in touch with you. So you basically thank them. And you can also ask, by when can I expect a response? That is okay. You can ask, because I remember when I was called for one interview, and the second interview happened after like a month-long period. So in the second interview, at that time, I was also going for the final interview for another place. So I asked from this, when can I hear from you? Right? So that is also important. So it's okay asking that. All right. So personal grooming. Men, this is a foreign picture, as you can say. You don't have to wear a coat. I mean, we don't wear coats in this hot sun, right? I would always say long sleeve shirt, right? White, or it can be like I would say white is the best. White, light blue, right? Professional colors like that. A gray, yeah, but avoid flashy colors, to pink, to shiny material. Avoid those, right? So I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Invest in 1 or 2 good shirts, right? 1 or 2 good shirts, wash well, iron, right? Make sure you look very neat and tidy. Yes. Leather belt, a tie, dark socks, and conservative leather shoes. Socks also be mindful, because sometimes when you sit, we can see, right? A neat professional hairstyle is a must, right? So, now, especially at audit firms, you tend to have all these hairstyles, no? Yeah, now, if you look at the Student Society video, you'll see a lot of new hairstyles, right? Spiked and all that. I would say go for a neat professional hairstyle, right? I'm not saying, fold, comb it sideways. I mean, just keep it neat and tidy, right? Neatly trimmed nails. I remember there was one person who was like, long nails and all. Doesn't look too cleanly. Cleanliness is a problem, right? Because see, again, why I'm saying this is, let's be practical. You can say, no, I want to do what I want, this is me, I'm going like this, my hair is like that, all that, right? But you're also looking at how a person fits to the organization, how a person fits to the culture. Now, if it's a IT firm, I wouldn't be telling this much, right? Because IT firm people come in casuals, their ways of working is different, all that, right? But especially if it's an audit firm requires more discipline. That's one part of your training, right? If y'all are going to be CA members. Now, I'm in my mind, I'm talking to CA members, so I'm talking to chartered accountants to be. So when you're a chartered accountant, when you're planning to be a chartered accountant, please, you can't behave the way that you want, because there is a code of ethics which we need to abide with, right? So if you do something wrong, that sorts of like distorts the picture of the entire fraternity, right? So the way you behave, the way you talk also have an impact on your brothers and sisters who are going to come, right? I know I can remember very well when we are in the audit firm, one university, we continuously had issues. And then we said we are not going to recruit anyone from that university because can't. Everyone that we recruited, there was some issue. Very unprofessional, right? Then portfolio or briefcase you will not have. But what I'm saying is have a nice, to carry your certificates, have a nice pouch. These things are not expensive, right? You have those nice pouches. I mean, carry that. Don't, I mean, avoid Brazil board files and all, right? Have a nice pouch for you to bring your certificates. Yeah. Then the girls, a skirt and a blouse, right? It has to be a professional one. So you can go for a long sleeve shirt blouse, right? No arm cuts, avoid sleeveless, right? So you have all these nice collared blouses. Go for something like that. Again, not too shiny material and all. My preference is, I always feel whites to blues to, there are some professional colors like that, but it's okay. I mean, for a girl, it's okay as long as, it's decent. Yeah. So decency is one thing. You don't want to attract unwanted attention, right? And get the job. If that is the purpose, fine, but otherwise, no. Skirt and a blouse, or I would always say pants, is more comfortable, right? So good, I mean, again, you don't have to invest. If you buy a pair of black pants, right, a black pants, black skirts will go with anything, right? Like a pencil cut pant, a black, a gray would do, right? Or a dark blue. So I mean, I always used to wear black because I mean, black pants can be fitted with anything, right? Or you can go even for an office dress. Okay, there are nice office dresses. One or two is fine. Conservative shoes, you can wear heels, but don't wear too high heels, so that all that you bother is, will I fall, and then you have leg pains because you had to rush for the interviews. Limited jewelry. So jewelry don't have a lot of flashy hanging bang sort of jewelry, right? So even for boys, a watch would do, right? So go for a good watch. uh, I mean, again, not expensive. I'm not talking about being expensive here. I'm talking about being professional here, right? So, like, studs or whatever, limited jewelry, right? No, as I said, no dangling earrings, full arm bracelets, uh, no cheap jewelry, a professional hairstyle. So, even this is not the best. If you're having short hair, like what's shown in the picture, that's good. Or if you're now, don't go and cut your hair. If you have long hair, or if you have like medium size length hair like mine, make sure you put some hair mousse and whatever and make it nicer. I mean, as long as it's neat. So you can't be having like a full-blown, very tidy hair all over the face sort of a thing. Or put a good ponytail like what's shown in this picture. A low ponytail, a high ponytail, or a half ponytail, it's all right, as long as it's neat and tidy. Yeah. Light makeup, don't put like Dracula type makeup. You don't have to wear strong perfume, nothing like that. Clean, neatly manicured nails properly. If you want to wear cutex, fine, but don't again, not very controversial ones. I'm a bit conservative anyway, so I also, there was time when I was in audit firms, when I was in your age. I remember I also used to wear like after coming from Australia and all, all these blacks and the blues and reds and all that. So I mean, you do fashion, that's fine. Again, so with age also things differ, no? And a matching handbag, right? So again, boys usually the belt and the shoes matching is good, right? Brown belt, brown shoes, black belt, black shoes. Girls also, I mean, a black handbag will go with anything, right? So a matching handbag, yes. Again, no need to spend a lot. You get 1 or 2 proper ones, that will do. We're slightly running out of time. So I've just included a few things here, right? Clean white blouse, like white, you can never go wrong. But again, white need not be like a university presentation, right? Then for boys, as I said, hair, tie, right? A simple tie, right? Shoes and socks. Shoes should be with so remember, when you wear shoes, always polish. I remember I used to be very particular. Polish your shoes, iron your clothes, show that you're an organized person. Yeah. Then I will move on to a video. I'll stop with the video and go for Q&A.
Well, with behavior-based interview questions, what employers are doing is they're looking at past behavior to get a
So I'm playing this.
Well, with behavior-based interview,
Y'all can hear, right? Can someone, Malshi, can you hear?
Yes, ma'am. It's audible.
employers are doing is they're looking at past behavior to get a predictor of future behavior. Let's say they ask, can you give me an example of a time where you took initiative to solve a problem? They want to hear a story about where you took initiative. And you need to organize that using the STAR technique, where you can talk about situation, task, action, and result. What I see a lot of students tend to do is they'll tell us a great story and forget the results. That's like watching a great movie and not seeing the ending of it.
Well, the STAR technique helps organize their thoughts. Behavioral interviewing is telling a story. You're telling us a story, you're setting up the situation so we understand exactly what you're doing. You set the frame, you set the picture for us in our minds. The task is, what was the problem? What was the issue? Set that piece up. And I want to know what you did, not my manager did this or we did this. I want to hear a lot of what did you specifically do? And the results, how did it end? It's like telling a joke and not giving the punchline if you don't add the results in there.
When they get those behavioral questions, take it back to a specific example, explain what they did, set it up, give the details, and include a lot of names, dates, times, numbers, and places. The more details you can give, it really helps the employer understand the depth and breadth of what you accomplished. Oftentimes, if a student is giving examples that say, we did this and we did that when they're talking about a committee, I will stop them and say, that's great that your committee did that, but what specifically did you do? And what I find oftentimes that they didn't do anything.
You really want to kind of go through your resume, go through even go through the last couple of months of emails that you've had from student organizations, from your work, from different classes, and really get into the detailed 1 or 2 or 3 detailed stories that you can tell, that you can actually know exactly what happened, exactly what the concept was, who was in the meeting, what the real problems were, what the detailed actions were, and not only what you did, but some of the options that you considered or that group considered before making the final decision, and then details in terms of what the result was.
Well, David, can you tell me about a time where you set a goal and you thought you did everything possible to achieve that goal but still fell short?
Sure. Actually, I had a similar experience to that during my internship during the summer of 2010 with UBS Investment Bank. I was working in their global healthcare group, and really one of the first type of tasks that we had was working with one of our major clients on a merger model. So we were doing a pitch for them and coming up with a hypothetical merger situation. And my task was to create the merger model and come up with the analysis so that we could show them our numbers so that it made sense. So one of my senior associates came to me and said, David, this is your task. Go ahead with it. We're not going to help you out. Do your very best, and we'll come to you at the end of the day. So I literally spent the next, I would say, 12 hours of that day working at a computer on my merger model, which I thought, man, I've spent 12 hours. It's going to be perfect. There's nothing wrong with this. And when I finally presented my model saying, we've got accretion here, we're going to make money off of this deal, the client's going to love it, the very first thing they did once I printed it out was take a red pen and cross an X all the way through it. And they said, you did absolutely everything wrong that we were looking for. And although you spent 12 hours, we're now going to have to go and redo this. So me, this is my first week as an intern, sitting there thinking, wow, I spent way more time than any full-time person would actually spend on this. And I did it all wrong. How is this possible? I'm not going to get a job at all. And now all my dreams of doing investment banking are ruined from this one engagement. And what I later realized was the fact that, when you come in, and this is what they told me at the end of the summer once I finally received a full-time offer, when you come in, they understand you don't know everything. You're not supposed to know every single thing about investment banking or your internship in general. When you come in, they want to see that you are putting forth the full effort, you're going above and beyond, and really trying to do your best in terms of what they show you and what they want you to do. So at the end, that same senior analyst who crossed an X directly through, which I will admit it was incorrect, my work, he later said, David spent half of a day on this model. He didn't give up. He was determined. He was confident in his work and what he thought was right. Even though it ended up being wrong, that same determination was what helped him to really be a perfect candidate for what we're looking for as a full-time analyst. So although I failed, and I definitely did fail, I did my best and I learned from that experience and ultimately got a return offer from UBS.
First, the candidate provides information about his project for UBS and the amount of time and work he put into the project, which helps the interviewer gain a real understanding of his efforts and the value of the task. Next, the candidate structured his example using the STAR technique: situation, task, action, results. Situation, explaining his UBS summer internship with the Global Healthcare Group. Task, explaining the merger model he was developing for a client to share UBS's financial expectations for the merger. Action, the amount of time and effort he put into the project. Results, the lessons learned from his mistakes and how he overcame these failures to receive an offer for full-time employment. Third, the interview candidate's story was focused on a specific project and experience rather than a story about how he generally overcomes failure. Finally, the candidate's story was specifically about his experience and not a shared story about a team's accomplishments.
Right. So basically, that showed the STAR technique at interviews. So some organizations, sorry.
Be honest. Do you really want to?
Some organizations, especially what they're looking from an interview is to make sure that they verify your competencies, right? Now, I remember very well, one of my colleagues had an interview, and the day before the interview, they said, these are the competencies which your position requires, right? So for an example, say teamwork, sound business judgment, initiative and follow through, communication skills likewise. So then I told her, look here, they can ask interview questions like this. Tell us a situation where you displayed teamwork, or in a situation like this, how would you communicate, right? So in that case, now even in my interviews they've asked, even in my first job they've asked, okay, I remember my colleague who is a friend now, she was a senior manager, and she asked, tell me a situation where you were involved with a project. Now you can't be saying we did this, we did that. You need to clearly say, I did this. So when you're responding, be prepared, at least one or two scenarios. Remember STAR. You have to clearly tell the situation, what did you do, the action and the result. Yeah. So that brings to the end of the presentation today. Can I think we've run out of time, Malshi. Can I quickly see if there are common questions? Can I take those?
There are questions, ma'am. Yeah, we have run out of time. Can I read few questions that we have? So
Yes,
maybe you can answer.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. I have selected a question and it is regarded for one person. He's asking, like, I have work experience in 3 organizations, each as 1 year, which I use to cover my CA articles. Most employers see that as I am jumping bird and ask why you leave the organization. Though he tried to explain it at his best, he think it is a reason for disqualification in all his interviews. Do you have any answer for that, ma'am?
So if I was an interviewer, honestly, I will also think like that, right? I will also wonder why you are jumping from one to another. So honestly, that might be a question that they're asking. So for me to give an answer, I really don't know the reasons why you have moved from one job to another, no? Right? So it can be because of the exposure that you have got is not enough. So it's a bit difficult for me to answer that. But having said that, I think the concern that you have raised, that people might think that you're hopping jobs, I think is a valid concern, right? Because the issue is, then I would think, okay, if I recruit this person, within a year, he might go to another place, because from an employer's perspective, I'm investing on you, I'm giving you training and development, everything, right? So I don't know the reasons why you left, but that can be a valid concern. But you'll have to be honest, and you'll have to put that in the CV. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. There's another common question. What is the best place to start career? Is it audit firm or non-audit firm? It is a general question that we have got.
Yeah, so I also have got this question many times. So see, if you go to an audit firm, again it differs, right? You have the high level big 4 audit firms, right? And you have small audit firms. Now where I started was a small audit firm, right? So from calling people for interviews to secretarial to accounting, consultancy, auditing, to everything I have done, right? Making tea, to everything I have done, right? So that's the advantage there. Sometimes I've heard, when you go to like a big audit firm, there can be an instance where you might get stuck, but then big audit firm gives you a different set of advantages, right? You might know global best practices, right? In terms of reporting, benchmarking, so all that, in terms of your training and development, it's more structured. So all those advantages are there, right? Either if you try to get a mix of both, like, but I don't know now, it depends on your supervisor, right? You have to sign articles at least for 2 years, I would think, right? Otherwise they will not give a 1-year article, no. Then the other thing is, so in terms of the flexibility that you want, all that is you need to consider. Then non-audit firm is another thing, right? Again, non-audit firm, in terms of the overall exposure, Whether you get or not is a question, right? And again, if you want to practice, you might want that audit firm experience. So again, you have the pluses and the minuses both, right? Now, sometimes I might think, okay, if I went for a big audit firm, I would have got a different exposure, which would have been helpful for me now, right? So it's a very personal thing. So you have the pros and cons of everything. I of course think the best judge for you would be you. So given the circumstances that you're having and all that, you should take a call. There's no clear-cut answer that I can give.
Yes, ma'am, and all the other questions seems like which were relevant to the presentation that you gave, so they might have found the answers from that. So as we are running out of time, I think we have to get stopped with the questions, and we have to mention that it was a very wonderful session that we spent with you, ma'am. Is there anything that you would say?
Thanks, Malshi. I think I told Tarindo also thank you for giving me the opportunity to spend this time with you. If you do still have like a question and you want to contact, I can put it on the chat, my email address, right, Malshi?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so I'll put my email address. You can write to me if there's like a burning question which you want to raise. Yeah, and I think you've got a very good number of participants. So I think I need to congratulate the team as well. I didn't expect such a big participation, to be very honest. So very good.
Thank
You
you
all
so
have
much,
changed the methods of delivery, right? So you have a bigger reach, no? So very good. All the very best for your exams, for your careers, and the student society. All the very best for your future endeavors as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And personally, we learned many more tricks from you too. And before you are leaving, I would like to say something. As many happy returns of the day for you today.
Okay.
As it
So
is your
I'm very
birthday.
serious around my birthday. Okay, I would have told you for sure.
So
Thank
I
you.
would like to wish you on behalf of the CS Student Society and of behalf of everyone who is watching us. So we wish you all the very best for your future, for all the future endeavors and everything. And we are also proud to have you as a ex-cast member.
Thank you.
And we also wish you in advance for Christmas and for the New Year, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining with us today.
Wishing you all a very prosperous New Year and a Merry Christmas too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So now as we have reached to the end of the session today, I would like to say this. As fresh school leavers, I suppose that many students may not know why we need to be assigned with an audit firm and what is the benefit we gain through that. A simple answer for that is, as say students possessing 2 years of articles with an audit firm or an unaudited sector is essential to be seated for the final level examination, which means the strategic level examination. Therefore, it is necessary for the beginners to join with the firm as soon as possible and to collect their experiences regarding the field. One of the motivation of our career fair is to make you assign with an audit firm. So for that, as a helping hand, we have got several organizations related with us. As you know, we have collected the CVs of you for the past few weeks, and we will be forwarding these CVs for the below organizations. They are namely KPMG, PwC, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, which is the Big Four, and also BDO Partners, Murayar, Preston Sri Lanka, ACM Ifham and Company, BRD the Silva and Company, finally Joycing and Company. So we will be sending all the CVs that we have collected from you, and there will be CV evaluation in the firms. You will be getting a call if your CV passed through the evaluation process, and you will get a chance to face the interview. Even if you didn't get a call, don't worry about that, because now today you have learned how to do a CV rightly. So rearrange your CV from what you learned today and try once again. So we wish you all the very best, and we hope everyone will get that dream call and you will step into the professional world very soon. With that, we'll be concluding today's session. And before that, I would like to remind many of the students may have missed the session in the beginning of the session. So we will be uploading the recorded session for the YouTube, so you can refer to that. So now our organizing committee will be sending a link for the feedback form through all the chats, through the Facebook as well as for the Zoom. So we kindly request you to fill and submit, as your feedback will be our ultimate happiness on all our efforts we went through to conduct this program. So now you will get the links for the chat boxes. With that, we conclude the online career fair and workshop 2020. We hope you got something new to your life and you will paint your dreams with them. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance, and stay safe during this period till we meet again. Thank you so much. You will get the link for the feedback form through your chat boxes.